Right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. I'm delighted to see you all here this afternoon with us online for this showcase titled Powering the EU Missions with the European Business Angels Network. And on behalf of EBAN and the Horizon Results platform, we welcome you to this online event. My name is Jacopo Losso. I'm the director of EBAN Secretariat. We are the trade association that is representing angel investors in Europe since 1999, when our association was launched. Today, we're a community of over 150 angel investor groups and other early stage groups all over Europe and in 50 countries, not just on this continent, but around the world. Our association is here to drive successful and responsible angel investment. We do this by providing investors and investor groups connections, by providing them access to knowledge and best practices, and finally, by representing them in their interests towards the EU institutions and policymakers. We're extremely proud to be working in partnership with the Horizon Results platform and the European Commission in showcasing to you this afternoon 6 different startups that are all driving and pursuing the 5 EU missions. Of course, these are entrepreneurs that have received a lot of grant funding and support from the European Commission to bring their research and science and technology-driven solutions to the market. We will be hearing in a little bit from the entrepreneurs themselves, who will be presenting to you in the audience. They are fundraising, of course, for private investment, and hence why we hope to also connect you with the founders later on after this event today. We'll be hearing companies addressing fundamental challenges of our time, such as climate change, maintaining clean oceans and waters, making our cities smarter and more climate neutral, keeping our land and our soils healthy and fertile, and last but not least, fighting cancer. We want to, before we start, also hand over the floor to our friends at the EU Commission at DG Research and Innovation. We'll be hearing first from Matthias Will, who is Director of Common Implementation Center at DG Research and Innovation. And afterwards, Matthias will be introducing Director General Jean-Éric Paquet to say a few words of welcome for this afternoon. Before I hand over the floor to Matthias, I would like to thank, of course, the Horizon Results platform for the partnership and for working with us in showcasing the very best companies found on the Horizon Results platform to you this afternoon. I also want to thank the VO team who is helping us power this digital online event. And of course, last but not least, my team at EBAN for making this afternoon possible. So without further ado, I'd like to give now the floor to Mr. Matthias Will to say a few words of welcome. Matthias, when you're ready, over to you.
Thank you, Jacopo. Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues, very much for having me. Honor for me to be able to say here a few words of welcome. We will have a message from my Director General to you in a moment. But I look forward also to listen to your stories, to your presentations in the course of the afternoon. So powering EU missions with the European Business Angel Network. I think it is wonderful for us to look at the results and how use can be made. We are after impact to amplify what has been done under the different research programs. In order to do that, of course, we partner with organizations like yours, and we try to offer services we try to offer, and we try to improve services which can support your job. So Jacobo mentioned the Horizon Results platform. We have the Horizon Results Booster. We have a Horizon Results Platform TV. And my colleague George is participating here. He is the engine behind our activities, and he is in the chat bar posting a few links. So those of you who don't know them, please click in, take a look. We hope you find these useful. In terms of incentives, we have the Horizon Impact Award to acknowledge and maybe reward projects that have an impact on society, on the economy, the environment, or maybe general well-being. What is important to me also personally is that we continue thinking and increasingly also developing, maybe that's not always so normal for a public sector organization, really a client-centric approach to what we are doing. So not only inside out compliance here, I don't know, data and results there, but really take a look at our different target groups, our different client groups, researchers in the first place, of course, but investors, policy makers, Enterprise Europe network advisors, national contact points, technology transfer professionals, intellectual property experts, and probably in this list a few of them are missing. We are sitting on tons of experience of past programs, and we would like to reach out a little bit better also to understand your particular needs. For the researchers, they might be interested in workflows and notifications, but I'm thinking also about communication content, personalized and mobile, partnership search, looking for the results that you know through the tools that I have mentioned before. All of that, I think, can be made yet more readily available to become easy to use at your fingertips. And then maybe specifically on EU missions, all our services across not only our DG, but really the DG family, and missions go beyond research and innovation, are mobilized to contribute to the success of these missions. And we know that we need events like this here today to identify solutions that can contribute to the ambitious objectives set in the EU missions. We will succeed only if we can bring this across with the member states, with the industry, with the different partners and stakeholders that we have. So the main sponsor, pacemaker, and driver for EU missions is indeed our Director General. And Jacobo, we have prepared a video message. Jean-Eric regrets, he sends his regards, he cannot make it today to be here. But if you agree, I would propose that we take a look at his message. Thank you.
Very well. I'll leave the floor to the team for the video.
These European missions are about deploying solutions and technologies in the economy, in society. So we hope to find with you investors which will be interested to team up under these 5 missions in cancer, in cities, soil, oceans and climate adaptation, to team up with actors in Europe, team up also with the European Commission and many other actors at EU level, and invest in deploying cutting-edge solutions, technologies, but also social innovation to help our societies indeed transform and meet Europe's ambition to reduce CO2 emissions, deal with biodiversity and environment, and really collectively under the mission make a difference. We believe that in Europe we have the innovators, and I'm sure we also have the business angels and investors which want this impact investment and will team up around the missions to make a difference, deploying solutions, investing in their deployment, making a difference in society.
So, Jacobo, if I may conclude just by saying that we are very happy to partner today, but also in the future with you, with your staff, the network that helps to identify these different solutions that we are going to listen to. And please, my little plea, take a look at this Horizon Results platform. We think it is a source of inspiration and should pave a little bit the way towards connecting meaningfully with those researchers and sources of inspiration that we have out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Matthias, and thank you also, Director General Paquet, for these words of welcome and for opening up this afternoon. I also want to give a shout out to the investors in the audience to add the Horizon Results platform to the list of sources you get quality deal flow from. You'll be surprised to see how many interesting projects you will find on the platform. I want to move now and start telling you a little bit more how this afternoon will look like. We have a jury which we will be introducing in just a moment, but let me go through briefly what you can expect to hear this afternoon. So we will be having 6 different startups from all over Europe presenting with their founders, with their CEOs for 7 minutes, followed by 7 more minutes of Q&A with our expert jury members. At the end of each of the presentations, we'll be launching a poll where you in the audience can indicate your interest to get in touch with the entrepreneurs. Obviously, the founders here are looking primarily for angels or VC investors in the audience. So if you are one of those and you'd like to possibly have a chat with any of the founders that you'll be hearing from this afternoon, do let us know when we prompt the polls following the presentations that you will be listening to. Today, everyone is a winner, but for the purpose of allowing us to give a special recognition to one of the companies, we'll be also asking you in the audience to vote which of the 6 presenting startups was your favorite. The audience favorite startup will be also receiving as a special prize a fully paid trip to participate at our Cork Congress, which we are celebrating in Ireland on the 18th and 19th of May, and where the company will also be having a chance to present again, this time in a real life, in-person setting to the investors coming to the EBAN Congress. I'd like to invite now our jury members, which you can see here on the slide, to say just a couple of words of introductions about themselves. And we'll start from Audra and then proceed from left to right, as you see on the slide, with our various jury members. So please, just a couple of words to introduce yourself, Audra.
Hello, good afternoon. Audra Shalal, Managing Director and Founder of Boss Consulting. I sit on the board of several angel and networks, EBAN, and also with Sophia Business Angels and NFBAN, Nordic Female Business Angel Network, and had helped set up one of the first angel networks in Bahrain in the Middle East. I also am an expert advisor for international organizations such as OECD, European Commission, and the United Nations on reinforcing entrepreneurial ecosystems in the EMEA region, and also a mentor and coach for quite a few incubators and accelerators. And I'm also on the EIC jury for the European Investment Fund, particularly in life sciences, biotech, health tech, and ICT and energy. So I'm looking forward to hearing these pitches. And
thanks, Audra, for joining us. Fantastic. Peter, a couple of words of welcome from you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Peter Braun, I'm based out of Switzerland. I'm a member of the EBAN board, probably the oldest by now, almost since 2010ish or so. Angel investor, serial entrepreneur. I'm also in the board of several companies and funds, including venture funds. And yeah, I want to keep it short here. So it's fantastic. I'm very interested in impact. I'm building companies around that as well myself. And the other big topic is cross-border investment, which I'm really a big fan for, because if we jointly invest, you don't go to war normally. So that's something I'm super interested in. Looking forward to your pitches and best of luck. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Peter and Christophe.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. So I'm Christophe Baudin, the founder and director of CBO Consulting, so consulting company based in Brussels. What we do is strategy consultancy. So we are a boutique specialized in innovative digital ventures. So of course, we support companies by helping them to grab some public funding, especially EU grants, but also private funding through private companies, private investors, but also loans. I'm a coach and a mentor in different EU programs, and we've been doing some consultancy also for the European Commission in different programs. So very happy to be here today to listen to this great project, and good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Christophe. And last but not least, Ian.
Hi, everyone. So I'm the founder of Monte Carlo Capital. I'm based in Monaco. We are sort of a hybrid between the angel world and the venture world. So we are a group of private investors, but we deploy capital typically like a fund would. We take typically entire seed rounds as lead, and I would also typically lead follow-on investments in our best companies, and I've led up to 5 investments in rows in our most successful companies. In the US, we also have a venture building activity, which essentially entails licensing technology from universities and building businesses around that. And my group has been acting as a lead investor as well. I'm also a managing partner of a fund dedicated to our US activities, and we are launching currently 2 funds, one as a follow-on to our US activity, and one for essentially both Europe and the US. I'm also on the board of EBAN. I lecture venture capital at university, and also sit on the board of numerous companies, both in the US and in Europe. Thanks.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you to our jury. Now we'll be introducing briefly the startups that you'll be hearing from later this afternoon, starting from PeptiChip, who will be presenting first. PeptiChip is enabling accurate, user-friendly and fast tumor and neoantigen identification, and they're paving the way for the personal treatment of immunotherapies. And the company today is represented by Dr. Otto Cari and Professor Vincenzo Cerullo. Second up, we'll be hearing from Nova Innovation. Nova Innovation's pioneering tidal energy, and by designing, building, and then operating energy turbines that work in harmony with the natural environment. Company is represented today by John Meager. Third up, we'll be hearing from KiteRow, which is offering an automated AI powered food waste prevention technology, collecting also data and analyzing images. We have Anastasia Hoffman today representing KiteRow. Then fourth, we'll be hearing from Iran Marine. This is a company that has developed the Water Shark, which is a marine drone designed to remove waste from urban waters without damaging the environment or harming any species. And the company is represented today by Richard Hardiman. Then we'll be hearing from SignTime Cymax. This is a company that's providing automated sign language with avatar technology, and they're creating also resources that the cultural heritage ecosystems can use. Presenting today is Dr. Georg Chare. And last but not least, we'll hear from Yangi. Yangi is manufacturing fiber-based materials for the packaging industry, which could be actually a great alternative to plastic packaging and helping out the environment in the meanwhile. Representing the company, we have Johan Kaiser today. So without much further ado, I'd like to now welcome from PeptiChip Otto and Vincenzo. Let me stop sharing my screen so we can get your slides up. I'll be keeping also your time, guys, and whenever you're ready to go, I'll start the timer for the 7 minutes. And remember, we'll also have a lot of time with the jury later. Keep your slide deck there in case anyone from the jury wants you to go back and comment maybe some of the information you've shared on the slide. Best of luck to all participating entrepreneurs, and Otto and Vincenzo, whenever you're ready, take us away.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks a lot for having us. Today, we will present our project PeptiChip, and as you already mentioned, is a fast way to analyze and to identify 2 more new antigens. Please, Otto, go ahead. So I think we can all agree that immunotherapy has significantly revolutionized the way cancer is treated. But what's the core of immunotherapy? The core of immunotherapy is really for our body to understand and to distinguish the difference between the cancer cells and the healthy cells. How this happens? Please go ahead. So you should know that in our body, we have something called the immune system, which is actually the police of our body that is actually continuously inspecting us. So as you can see, this is a T cell that is inspecting normal cells. And when the normal cell is inspected, go ahead, nothing really happened because it's a normal cell. So our immune system goes to sleep. With tumor is different. When the tumor recognizes that there is something on the cancer cells, like eventually neoantigen or an antigens, our immune system gets activated, please, Otto, and can finally kill the cancer. So I would say that understanding what are those fingerprints, what are those differences between the healthy cells and the cancer cells is the core of designing our next generation immunotherapies. What do we have now? For now, we have some methodologies available. Those are, they work very well, but the problem is they are long methodologies, about 2 to 5 days. They are very expensive. They require personnel that is extremely well trained, but most importantly, they require such a large amount of tumor to start with, to be analyzed, that even if they work very well in laboratories for research purpose, when this goes to real life, these are not feasible anymore. So if we want to envision real personalized cancer vaccine, this will probably won't work. What we have done in our laboratory is actually we have developed a microchip, a microfluidic based chip that can do everything that the classical approach would do, but in much less time, 1 hour instead of days, for a very inexpensive price, about 90 euros all in all. But most importantly, we can do all the neoantigen analysis starting from a very, 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 very small piece of tumor. And this makes the difference on something that will work only in laboratories, on something that can actually work on the bedside, can work in the hospital, analyzing, tumors, neoantigen repertoire from a very, very, very small needle biopsies.
As an RD tool, PeptiChip is aiming for a share of the cancer diagnostics and tools markets, but it's really the fast-growing 200 billion plus immunotherapy market that's driving its applications. Our analysis has shown that there is a clear demand for more meaningful and efficient neoantigen identification, meaning that instead of predicting a vast number of possible tumor fingerprints to test, we can identify the most promising ones directly and do so quickly to reduce false leads in drug development. Since PeptiChip is currently the only tool that's capable of both identifying and narrowing down the most promising neoantigens, and we cover all the necessary steps from sample preparation to therapeutics development, as well as easy conversion into a companion diagnostic, the most attractive profit model is to partner with immunotherapy companies for joint therapeutics development, where the advantage over a fee-for-service model are the significant upfront fees. Actual fees in the space have been between 70 to 100 million euros before accounting for milestone fees or the royalty tails. The basic building blocks are in place, including published proof of concept, prototypes, and an international patent application for the methods and the device, which just received a positive search report statement for novelty, innovativeness, and industrial application. We also have a pilot with clinical samples ongoing. Last week, we reached an agreement on the terms of an IPR assignment with an immuno-oncology player based in Finland, which we can hopefully disclose in the coming weeks. This means that PeptiChip will become a business unit, coupled with compatible therapeutic platforms and expertise in immunotherapy development, which will significantly strengthen our go-to-market strategy and attractiveness towards potential partners. Together, we aim to raise a bit over 1 million euros to get PeptiChip and HEX operational, validated, and certified, and to take us to October 23. We're looking for investors to join upcoming rounds, but unfortunately, I cannot disclose all the details you requested at this point, but I would be happy to send you more information once our agreement has been executed. Our inventors, Vince and Sarah, will continue to bring in their considerable scientific expertise in neoantigen discovery, complemented by Tina's and Marcus's expertise on microfluidics and analytics. After focusing on business planning with our tech transfer office, following acquisition, I've been asked to lead the business operations and R&D, reporting directly to the CEO, who has decades of experience in the neoantigen field together with the CSO. This ensures a small, dedicated team with sufficient resources and solid backup to get things running in short order. Myself, I hold a PhD in pharmacy, qualifications, and more than a decade of experience in R&D and strategic management. I have previously set up mass spec-based services and currently serve as an innovation lab director. The board of directors of the immuno-oncology company has globally recognized experience from biotech and large pharmaceutical companies, T-cell and neoantigen-based therapeutics, and associated technologies such as diagnostics. Thanks a lot for your attention, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Very good, and also with some time to spare, so we'll keep the timer going, and for our jury members, feel free to unmute and address any questions.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. Sounds super interesting. A quick question on the chip development. You said you have developed a chip, and then at the same time you said you have prototypes. Chip development is very costly. I just wanted to know who your partner is in that hardware development and you're collaborating with.
At the moment, the thing is that we're able to produce them in-house. So we're actually making use of university resources that have been, customized chips for our needs. And we have identified a list of 25 companies who are able to supply chips, out of which there's, for instance, a German manufacturer called Microfluidics Chip Shop, I think that's the name, who is able to produce the chips. But you're exactly correct that actually the biggest limitation is that we need to have a very high surface to sort of aspect ratio. And this is hard to produce with many methods. So to be honest, we prefer to use the methods we have in-house. And we're also discussing on, turning those into manufacturing facilities with our collaborators in Finland. But so far, it's mostly about outsourcing, and our technology is compatible with what we get off the market. Hope this answers your question.
Absolutely, thank you very much. Yeah, I've been down that road, not in biotech, but I know it's a hard story to resolve. So thank you very much. Cool. Thanks, Otto.
Yes, this is Audra. Could you please elaborate a little bit more on your IP strategy?
So at the moment, basically what we have, we're in the international stage, as I mentioned, we've been able to protect basically the method and the device, which is the chip. We had to do some sort of restrictions on our claims regarding the chip to sort of ensure that we can get it through, and now we were successful. But we feel it's a, I mean, very strong patent, so we're not really concerned about that. What's your sort of catch? Could you elaborate on your question a bit?
No, it's just, you know, as you are going global, you know, is to know a little bit as you're entering different markets, how, you know, that transfers across markets.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question. We're using an expert company from the UK with previous experience in global patenting in the immuno-oncology field. This is one of the reasons, exactly as you mentioned. So the next step basically is the national phase that will begin later this year. And at that point, we'll be making the decisions into which countries we would be moving first. But I can't really elaborate at this point to more extent, sorry.
Okay. And if I can quickly add here, our patent encompasses not only the chip, but also the methods, how the peptides are actually scored. We have developed ourselves an algorithm to give priority. I mean, when you do the chip, basically the outcome of chips is tens of thousands of peptides, because that's what our cells present on MHC class 1. But we have developed an algorithm that give priorities to peptides that might be more immunogenic than others. And in few words, this priority is actually given by the software on similarities to pathogen-derived peptides. So the software works in the way that if a tumor antigens is more similar to a pathogen-derived antigens, that antigens will be given a higher score in terms of immunogenicity. And we have shown also in the lab that this is actually, you know, the case, and this is actually works very well, not only in mouse, but also in human being. And the patent combined both, not only the chip, but all the methods.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was interested in now. Right.
Thanks.
All right,
Christoph speaking. Yeah. Just one point about your steps to the market. When you see your first revenue happening, and so what would be your go-to-market strategy? How would you achieve that, especially in the framework of these 18 months that you mentioned in here, the first 18 months? So how do you see this happening? Thanks.
Yes, thanks for the question. So what's going to happen in the first 18 months, to be realistic, is to set up the infrastructure. We have some, you know, steps taking into that direction, but really we need to make the system operational at our end so that we can reliably serve customers. The first step during that period, which will be the closest to the market, is actually participating in a clinical trial with a therapeutic. So we've been doing the preparation for that, and that will sort of give us the credibility towards our partners to, you know, increase the attractiveness of what we're doing. But following most likely to 18 months, we'll be then, you know, starting negotiations with selected strategic partners, and then, you know, eventually making some revenue, you know, in the form of upfront fees, which are typical in this space. So we're not planning to sort of necessarily, you know, go for a service model, but most likely we expect that during the first 1.5 years, we'll be able to, you know, sell out some of the capacity also and generate, you know, very small revenue, you know, in terms of some form of services, which will help us set up this infrastructure, you know, develop capabilities, teach our employees, and, you know, to serve our collaborators, such as Vince's lab, for instance. But that's not really, you know, the revenue we're after, if you see what I mean. So we're really after immunotherapy partnerships with big pharma, biotechs, and, you know, to start negotiating those deals. And there has been some interest already regarding our technology and those discussions. Hope this answers your question.
Yes, thanks.
All right, see you. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I would just say, besides the interest in the technology, I think it would be quite interesting to get a better sense of what the future of the company is. And you know, we do understand that it's very hard for you to give more information at this point. But as you can imagine, for investors being asked to commit €1 million, not having any information on the integration, what type of company and what is joint fundraise is a bit difficult to assess the opportunity. Is there anything at all you can share?
Not really, not much more. So what happened at the end of last week and on Saturday, we reached agreement on the terms, and we're basically waiting for the signatures to be put on the papers and then agree on how to disclose this. And we fully understand and we apologize that we weren't able to disclose these details. We did our best together with the great team at Horizon Results Platform and the guys to try to make it happen. But so let's hope it happens in the coming weeks, and we'll be able to disclose it. But as I said, we're happy to provide more information, obviously, on the larger fundraise and the opportunities, how you could maybe join into this sort of fundraising.
And if I can add without, to causing too much problem. So basically our idea with PeptiChip is to join with a company that develops potential personalized cancer vaccine, so that with PeptiChip, we could really validate the chip, but simultaneously also provide directly from patient what the tumor in that specific moment is actually presenting, and so that we can design a personalized cancer vaccine. And the company is already in clinical trial. So actually, this is a great opportunity also for the chip to be validated in real life.
Vincenzo and Otto, we've expired the time, but thanks so much for the very good presentation, and thank you to the jury also for the questions. This is the time where we launch the poll, so that all the investors in the audience interested in connecting with PeptiChip can signal their interest. So I think the poll has now been launched. You can take a second there to reply. In the meantime, I'd like to thank Vincenzo and Otto again, and I think we can now welcome our second presenting entrepreneur for today, Nova Innovation. If you guys are ready and want to share your screen, go ahead, please.
Hello, this is John Marr here from Nova Innovation. Can I just check you can see my screen?
Yes, we see it, and
Yes,
just go ahead and launch it in full screen mode and start when you're ready.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to speak today. It's a real honor and a real privilege. Nova Innovation is a tidal energy company, and we are focused on powering a better future. So we design, build, and install tidal turbines, and it really is important, not just from the move towards addressing climate change, but also as Europe looks to transition away from natural gas in light of recent events. This is a local source of generation around our seas. So Nova's a proven track record of success. Just to give you some background here, we were the first company in the world to install a tidal array, offshore tidal array in Shetland in Scotland. That has been running for 6 years now. In 2018, we partnered with Tesla. We added energy storage to the site to create the world's first baseload tidal power station. In 2018, we also won the EU's SME of the Year award. And then in 2020, we won our first export contract, and that was for 15 turbines to Canada. In 2021, we secured our first major institutional investor. So that was 6.4 million from the Scottish National Investment Bank, and we are continuing to go from strength to strength. In terms of the challenge before us, climate change is front and center. COP26 was held in Glasgow last year, and there's been a commitment from countries across the globe and a realization that we can't ignore this any longer. Solar and wind are great sources of renewable energy, but they're not enough in themselves to enable us to get to net zero. We need to develop new sources of clean, renewable energy, and tidal is just that. In terms of the benefits, What you see before you is the world's first offshore tidal array in operation. One of the great strengths is that it has no visual impact on the landscape or the seascape. It's clean, it can predict it to the second, 1 day from now, 1 year from now, and 5 years from now. That predictability has an immense value within it. There's no visual impact, it doesn't interfere with shipping, it can continue to operate through storms, there are no dams, no barriers, and wildlife is free to move around it. In terms of the competition, there's a vast market here, there's room for lots of players, but Nova is recognized as a leader in this field. As well as developing the world's first offshore tidal array, we have industry-leading performance in terms of our technology, in terms of our projects. There are sort of two main types. One is floating and the seabed mounted. So ours are subsea, and that's the inherent benefit of being hidden from view. And then we can also scale up. So we can deploy turbines in single units or in multiples to form megawatt arrays. They can also have energy storage added to them, and that really does enable baseload power to be dispatched in the grid. In terms of the global opportunity, it's vast. This is an abundant resource which is present in every continent in the globe. It's an untapped source of energy from one of the strongest forces on the planet, and it's valuable. By 2050, it could be worth as much as 126 billion. This is a picture of the turbine sitting quayside before it's deployed in the sea. You see there's a yellow substructure and the white body is the nacelle with the blue blades. Now, the great advantage to this is that it's a plug and play product. So all of this can be put into a shipping containers and transported anywhere in the world and quickly deployed. So it's scalable. Our strategy is based upon the learnings from wind. So if you look at this diagram, back in the 80s, you had some major big companies developing megawatt scale turbines, which turned out to be commercial dead ends. But it was the companies who started at a smaller scale and gradually scaled up, which ultimately prevailed. So examples would be Vestas, Enercon, and Nova's innovation is to do with tidal, what Vestas has done with wind. In terms of our financial projections, we've got a good strong track record. We raised 6.4 million from the Scottish National Investment Bank last year. We've raised over 34 million pounds in project funding, and we've delivered on every project we've undertaken. We've got a good strategy and pathway to delivery. We mentioned earlier about the export contract for Canada, and since then we've actually won other projects. So one was in Indonesia, and we also won funding to increase the size of our turbines as well. We've got a very experienced team with a proven track record. Last year we strengthened the board, adding significant weight to the board as we transition and scale up. And as well as the board there, we're also scaling up in terms of developing a manufacturing hub to export turbines across the world as the sector becomes mainstream. In terms of our route to market, initially we're focused on displacing diesel in remote areas, but as we grow and tidal evolves in the way wind already has, we anticipate independent power producers and larger infrastructure projects. And so by 2030, we want to be in a position where we can displace nuclear power. In terms of Nova's existing international portfolio, we have 3 core projects in Scotland, as well as the 2 projects in Shetland there. We have a project on the west coast of Scotland with the potential to produce whiskey distilled by the tide. We mentioned Canada earlier. We also have 2 projects in Wales. We're going to be installing our first turbine in France later this year. And we have won a feasibility study for a 7 megawatt array in Larantuka in Indonesia. Indonesia has got a huge potential with over 17,000 islands, with water flowing between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. In terms of the ask, we're looking for 5 million euros to fund a tidal array project in France or Scotland. And we're also looking for some match funding to some EIC funding we won in December of 2.5 million. And that's all about scaling up the size of our turbines as the industry grows. In terms of the team, very experienced board there. Simon Forrest is a founder along with Gary Connor. And we've got some big hitters on the board, and we've really noticed a huge growth over the past 12 months. In terms of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, they're before you in the matrix, and you'll see there that we have a direct impact on 6 of those and 9 indirectly. So thank you very much for listening today. We have offices, we're headquartered in Scotland, but we have offices in Belgium, Ireland, Canada, and Wales. And I'll be looking forward to hearing your questions. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
John, thank you. And congrats for the presentation, for the work you guys are doing at Nova Innovation. Jury members, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much for this presentation. This sounds really very impressive. I'm interested as a question in, is there any measurements that you've done underwater in terms of wildlife disturbances, noise, irritation of whales or anything that is happening? That would be my number one. And then second, from the map that you've shown, I understand you have quite a variety to install these widely. Are there any limitations towards depths or anything where you can install or cannot install these turbines? Other than that, it sounds really fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Peter. In terms of the environmentals, there are very strict regulations about putting anything in the sea. So we work closely with the regulators in the different countries, and we ensure that we have the correct licenses and follow those rules. We have completed an extensive period of monitoring in Shetland, and that's everything from bird and mammal surveys right through to subsea video cameras, which stream live data back to our control centres, and that again, that can be monitored around the world. We also have an environmental manager, Dr. Kate Smith, who has worked for a regulator for 20 years and is well recognised as an expert in the field. So in answer to that question, we do do a lot of environmental monitoring. It's a very rigorous process, and that's in Scotland, Canada, and Wales as well. So that's the first question. The second question, in terms of the map, really this is the beginning of a journey. So it's a vast market. There's space for many players, and Nova is recognised as having a lead in that. The limitations are probably more in terms of you get tidal streams in every continent. You tend to have them around islands, around headlands, where you have fast flows. One of the limitations might be water depth, but again, there's a huge potential to install turbines in a range of depths. So it really is, the world is your oyster, really.
Thank you very much, John. My colleagues, I'm sure, also have questions, but I'm interested really in also maintenance and all of these other questions, but we can take this offline maybe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe one question, John, about your business model. You're selling at the moment equipment, right? Are you considering other ways of selling your product, like maybe a global offering, including maybe subcontracting or other ways?
Thank you, Christophe, for the question. So Nova at the minute is both a turbine manufacturer and also a project operator. So we can have revenue streams from turbine sales and from the power generation. Partly that's been through necessity, in that with this being a brand new technology, we've had to prove it's possible, which is no mean feat. Producing electricity from the sea is an immense achievement when you think it's one of the most powerful forces on the planet. So our turbines have been running for 6 years now. We've done that, and we're now focused on driving down the cost of tidal energy to make it competitive with other sources of electricity. And we are making great strides in that regard. One example of that would be our ONFET project, which is recognised as one of the EU's leading marine energy projects. And in that, we've actually already brought down the cost of tidal energy by 30%. In terms of our business model, the longer term plan is to move towards being the investors of tidal energy, so a tidal turbine manufacturer. But we're also open, so we're open to different ideas, different concepts, and the aim here is to really drive down the cost. So the thrust of this is about climate change and about the energy transition away from fossil fuels. And the great thing about the tide is it's renewable, it's clean, it's predictable, and it can benefit coastal communities across the world. So so we're open to working with partners, with O&M and other factors. We're all about local content, helping to rejuvenate coastal communities. We've got a great track record of doing that. We've done that in Shetland, and we're doing that in Canada as well with this first project that we're undertaking later this year.
We have time for one last really quick question.
Hi, it's Ian. If I may jump in, can you say, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, sorry, maybe if I missed that, but can you say a few words about the cost of producing electricity compared to the main competitors, and how much further down you think you'll be able to bring it, and by when? Can you say also a few words about maintenance and about marketing? How do you meet your customers? I'm not sure if you have time for all those questions, but
okay, I'll make a start, and then you can cut me off when we run out of time. Right. First of all, cost of energy. So I'll produce this, share this slide with you. This kind of shows you how renewables have fallen for wind and solar. So you see that rapid reduction in costs as those technologies have grown and scaled up. So we are experiencing a similar decrease in cost in tidal, and you can see that the progress we're already making. And so by 2030, the EU has set a target of reaching €100 per megawatt hour, and we're well on track to achieving that. So that's kind of my background. In terms of context of that, there's a similar chart which is showing the costs of tidal compared to diesel generation. So the band at the top here in this sort of area is the cost of diesel generation in remote areas, anything from 250 to 500. And actually, with the recent escalation in oil prices, that will be even higher now. And this band at the bottom is typically showing what the cost of nuclear power is. So we're already competitive with diesel generation. We're coming down the cost curve, and by 2030, we'll be lower than nuclear power. So that's the journey we're on, reducing those costs. A key part of that is O&M. In terms of that, we have so the first 3 turbines were installed in 2016-17. They've been running for 6 years, generating power to the grid reliably. In 2020, we installed a new turbine, which was upgraded, and a better design, which doesn't have a gearbox. That has been operational for 18 months. We just completed a service on that, and that has performed even better than the first 3 turbines. And we're actually using that model to install that in Canada, and a 5th and 6th turbine in Shetland as well. And so,
John, I have to cut you off now, just because we did go a little bit generous with the Q&A break. But congrats, really. Could you maybe type a few more words in the chat so anyone interested can know more about also how you address your market and get to your customers? And thank you in the meantime for a great presentation. So we'll now welcome Kite Row. I believe we have Anastasia with us today, and whenever you're ready, Anastasia, you can get your slides up. We have just now launched also the poll, as you can see. So investors, take a moment to respond to that poll. And Anastasia, fantastic. We have your slides already up. So take us away whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So my name is Anastasia. I'm one of the two co-founders of Kitro. Kitro is focusing on food waste measurements and management for the food service industry. Co-founder Naomi and myself, we founded the startup in 2017 in Switzerland, and the goal is to bring back the value of food so it's appreciated and not wasted. We're now expanding into neighboring European countries, and that's why we're raising a Series A. So we're excited to be here today and pitch you what we do. Food waste is a bigger problem than most of us know. 1/3 of all food produced ends up being wasted along the global supply chain. Now, this has detrimental impacts on the environment because 8 to 10% of man-made greenhouse gas emissions actually stem from food waste. It also comes at a huge cost for the economy. The FAO estimates that $2.6 trillion get lost every year because of food that never gets eaten. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense. And we looked at the food service industry where we found a few of their challenges. And they face really high costs, they have low margins, and also lack of time, which leads then to a lack of overview what fills up the bins at the end of the day. Yet restaurants waste roughly 20% of the food they purchase. At Kitro, we believe what gets measured gets done. And this is why we have invented a fully automated solution designed to measure and monitor food waste in restaurants and canteens. Now, our solution has 3 components. There is a IoT hardware device that connects to the internet. There are algorithms and also user dashboard with analytics. Here's how it works. They place their existing bin on top of the scale. Every time they throw something away, it takes the image, the time, and the weight. This data is then sent to our software where we're using image processing and machine learning algorithms to identify what food gets thrown out. Now, these images are not very nice. I apologize for this, but it's the reality of food waste. So this is not very interesting for the customer because it just measures the food waste, but for them, the interesting part is this. They get a detailed analysis of the food waste over a long period of time as well for the first time ever. And based on that, they can really see how much they wasted, the cost of it, the sources of the waste, and so on. Based on this data, and also with the help of our customer success team that provides tailored recommendations, restaurant owners and chefs can optimize their work processes in order to reduce food waste. Now, on one hand, food waste reduction has, of course, a positive impact on the environment, but they also save a lot of cost in that process. So they can save up to 8% of their annual food cost, which is quite a big portion if you think about their low profit margins at the end of the year. Who are our customers? So I mentioned bigger hotel chains, restaurant groups, canteens, also medical centers since COVID. You see a few of our current customers, the logos on the side. And currently we have 80 devices active in the market, mostly in Switzerland. Nearly 90% of our customers renew their contracts and they measure for 12 months or longer. So the longest contract is 8 years. Our expansion plan for 2022, so we've done over 200 measurements now, mostly in Switzerland, and we have now active devices and trials going on in Germany, UK, and also in Italy, and we're starting increase in April. Our go-to-market here is really just on one hand to grow with the customer into the different, the customer group into the different countries, or to work with a selected distribution partner. Our business model behind Kitro is a SaaS business model, so we charge them a monthly subscription fee that includes everything from renting the device to the analysis to the customer success. Cumulatively, we've signed over 1.5 million in revenues already. This market size estimation is highly segmented and shows only the top qualified properties in our market. So we're really looking at properties that belong to a chain, a group, or have more than 100 seats. And only looking at that, our global market is already more than 80 billion euros. It's a good market, as you can tell. So we're not the only ones. There are a handful of competitors here. The 2 oldest ones are LeanPath and Winnow, and then there are a few smaller, younger companies coming up. The big differentiator here is really the way we collect data, the way our AI is built, which makes us more accurate and also cheaper compared to existing solutions. Our goals for this year are quite ambitious. We've focused a lot on product development in the past. Then we were also, of course, impacted in the past 2 years by COVID. And now we're really ready to tackle the market. By the end of this year, we plan to have 300 devices active and hit nearly 1 million in revenues, of which we already have committed over 50%. So we're quite on the right track here to achieve this target. Our goal is to break even by 2023. Who's behind Kitro? We're a team of 18 people. We really connect hospitality and tech. So co-founder Naomi and myself, we actually studied hospitality management at at one of the #1 ranked hospitality schools in the world here in Switzerland. And then, of course, we complemented the team with great tech talents that support us on this journey. We've also been we've been supported by a great advisory board who added many years of experience to our team and are excited to be growing the team to over 20 people in summer already. Our goal, besides growing the team, is of course also to, on one hand, close the financing round to finance the expansion, but also continue working on feature development for the product offering to make the processes more automated and cost efficient. In order to achieve this, we're raising our Series A of 3.5 million, which we plan to close in May. It's an equity round. And as I mentioned, we plan to really fuel expansion and growth and be cost efficient while we do that. That's the goal. So join us if you're interested in supporting us on this journey to bring back the value of food so it's appreciated and not wasted. Thanks for your time, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Well done, Anastasia, and to your team at Kitro. You've also spared some extra time, which we will add to the Q&A. So jury members, whenever you're ready, just feel free to unmute.
Hi, Anastasia, Peter. Congrats, first of all. One question that came to my mind, is there a difference in the cuisines? For example, is this easily scalable beyond European cuisine, for example, also to Chinese cuisine or any other more foreign cuisines? Or are there any limitations? I'm thinking of the AI in particular. How did you train your model? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we've built up the AI in a human in the loop system. So either way, for the customers, they don't really know the difference whether an agent or the AI labeled the image, but basically how it's set up is that for them, it doesn't make a difference. They don't know about this unless they ask, but for them, all the images get labeled. They usually are. And if there's a new food item, like let's say an Asian food item that we have never seen before, it just goes directly to an agent if the algorithm is not confident about it. So as the data set grows, the algorithms get better at identifying new food classes as well. Right now, we have a lot of course, the top 20 ingredients are all like fries, bread, potatoes, all of this. They're like the images we see a lot, but our data set is already now quite large. So we have more than 1.5 million annotated images, and it's just growing every day.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you very much for this presentation. Very, very nice business and nice project. As a big part of the value proposition is based on the savings that you propose to your clients through the innovation. So I was wondering how you manage to get to long-term client loyalty when the savings will ultimately decline over time, because of course the big saving would be at the beginning. Can you please elaborate on this? Thanks.
Yeah, no, this is a great question as well. We get it quite often and it makes a whole lot of sense. So what we've seen is just multiple aspects actually to this. On one hand, they measure for one big point is cost reductions, but also impact reporting is becoming more and more important for customers. So now we see more and more customers, for example, EPFL, a tech university in Switzerland, they signed for 8 years for 30 devices because they want to have this consistent KPI that is being monitored over a long period of time in order to also put it into their sustainability reportings. So we're becoming also a part of that. And that, of course, is one one way to fuel loyalty. On the other hand, with the savings, what we're introducing this year is different software packages. So right now we only have one subscription that varies a bit depending on the type of property and the amount of devices, of course, but it is not yet split into this typical basic package, a premium package, and so on. In the future, we'll introduce a light subscription model where it's quite cheap. They just get the top numbers they need for reporting, basically, but they don't get any insights. And then if they see basically, oh, our waste spiked because there's a few variables within the year that always have an influence on the food waste, such as the change in staff in the kitchen, but also menu change, supplier change, seasonality, and so on. And so once they see, oh, we're in the light subscription, but the food waste is going up again, then they can switch on the insights again and pay a bit more. And so we want to be more flexible in that regard. And as a third answer to this, we're also looking to integrate into existing softwares that customers already use, namely POS systems, inventory management systems. And so we've already started some first trials there. And then we also are more integrated into their daily operations if we can then go into helping them to order and forecasting as well. So there's different areas that we're working on this year to really build up this loyalty.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Ian. Can you say a few words about your scaling up strategy within Switzerland, outside Switzerland? What is the sales mechanism? What is the logistics that is involved in deploying the products and the follow-up that goes with this? How much staff do you need in each country and so on?
Yeah. So basically, I think one big point here is about the logistics. It's a good point. We have a partner that helps with the scales. So Mettler Toledo is a Swiss-based Swiss company. They manufacture scales globally, and so they are also our partner. And what they do, so the current setup or the setup that we've agreed on with them is that we still assemble the top units. We sell them to Mettler, they assemble everything with the scale and ship it directly to the customer once we have an order. So they take over the whole logistics. We just kind of ship them the top units, but that happens on an ongoing basis, not according to demand. And they store all the devices and then ship it to the customers. So they help us there with the logistics. In terms of sales, so we've had a fairly small sales team. Actually, last year was just co-founder Naomi that did this sales part-time, and now we hired an experienced director of business development from a global company with more than 10 years of experience in that field. And so he joined this month, and also we hired 2 more sales people that joined. So we really have also more people that work on the leads that we get. And on one hand, in Switzerland, it's still very much direct sales, but it's very much also word of mouth, and people know us now and talk. The customers also talk to each other. So that is quite easy here in Switzerland. But for Germany now, we've signed a trial distribution partnership with Unilever Food Solutions. So they would take over the German market. We wouldn't do direct sales. We have a few accounts still there, but we wouldn't actively do direct sales now in Germany if the trial with the partnership works out, for example. Same for Australia, it's also a partnership that we work on. I hope that answers your questions. I think you muted.
Yes, indeed. Sorry, I was saying thank you so much.
Yes, could you tell me a little bit more on your usage of funds for your investment that you're looking for? Is that the follow-up investment? Because as you're showing how from the following questions, how you're scaling up strategy and how you're going to be developing. I'm interested to know also, like in your follow-up financing, even after this investment, what you look to see in your milestones.
So there will be a follow-up investment after this one. That is definitely the goal, but I'm not 100% clear on if I understood your question fully. So you'd like to know more about what the milestones are until the follow-up investment?
Like this, the investment that you have, that you're presently looking for those usage of funds, that once you've reached those objectives and milestones, with this investment, how do you see the follow-up investment, and what you're expecting to use with that follow-up investment, as you're growing? That's in coherence with your scale-up strategy that you were speaking to the previous jury member.
Yeah, no, definitely. So so after this one, the follow-up investment, it would definitely go more into marketing and sales expenses. So we would heavily invest in marketing for once as well, because we haven't really done that up to now financially. And so that is a big goal. And then, of course, what we really plan is to keep innovating. So we already have a few ideas for products and new products for the same market that we can work on in the future that have been requested by customers. We actually developed one last year, just an MVP for fun for Nestle, because they wanted it. And so we could commercialize the product as well, because now EPFL wants to test it, EHL wants to test it. It's really something for canteens. And so we have a few product ideas on one hand, but we also want to focus on the integrations, of course. So there is still this part, but yeah, with the follow-up investment, it's quite on a roadmap prioritized, but with the follow-up investment after this one that we see that would happen probably in 2024, we would really focus on the marketing and sales expenses probably mostly.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Anastasia, this is the time we have, and congrats and well done to you and your team. I think we can launch the poll, so we can ask the angels and the VCs in the room to get in touch. So yes, we're launching it now. You can reply to the poll. Thanks again, Anastasia. And we've just made it to halfway. So now we're getting ready for the for the fourth company, Ran Marine. And I believe we have exactly Richard ready to go. So whenever you want to share your screen, go ahead and you can start.
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Hardiman. I'm the founder of Ran Marine Technology, and we're a robotics autonomy for water company. There are a lot of ASV, autonomous surface vessel companies out there. We've chosen to focus ours predominantly on the recapture and harvesting of waste and biomass in water. I think we're very well aware by now of the atrocious amount of litter that's going into our oceans coming off land. We see it slightly differently. It's not just surface trash in the water that's creating problems, but it's also biomass, algae that's coming off from runoffs from agriculture and nutrients into the water, and the lack of water quality testing. So we see it holistically. We want to clean up waterways using our robots in a very sort of holistic and clean way. There are other solutions out there at the moment. We're a part of those solutions. We're not a silver bullet, but we think we can do better. The ones out there are currently too large. They emit too many emissions, or they're single purpose. And quite frankly, if they were doing the proper job, we probably wouldn't be in the situation that we are at the moment with the dire amount of marine pollution and biomass in our waters currently. We are an ASV company, so we're very aware that there are other robots out there in the water operating. We're one of the first ones to be in the market commercially. We've been going since 2016. The current competitor landscape shows us that we're quite far ahead of our competitors at the moment, but we obviously welcome the fact that there are competitors, because I think that proves that we're in the right space at the right time. This is our ASV. It's the Waste Shock. We've been developing this over the last 4 years. It's in the market currently. It goes into the market currently in both autonomous mode, or you can buy a manual version that comes with a remote control. And it's basically a Roomba for water. You can deploy one, or you can deploy several of them, depending on the amount of mass and debris that you want to clean up. They operate for around 10 hours in autonomous mode on their own, and then they return to shore. And they return to shore when they're full as well, and they go back out again. And one of our key USPs is that we operate on 4G, so we don't need to set up a wireless network. You don't need to be a very technical person to deploy them. Our customers get these in a box. They take them out the box. They put them on charge. They press a button, and they're ready to go. A little bit of training is required, but really we like to believe that they're very, very easy to deploy, and we've made that as simple and easy for our customers as possible. Of course, zero emissions. There's no fossil fuels used in this, and all the information that comes off these drones are reported back to our own autonomy management portal system as well, which our customers have access to. Just a very quick 30-second video to show you one of the smaller sharks. They're about the size of a coffee table. They skim the top 30 centimeters of water. And as I say, we focus on biomass and plastic waste at the same time. So one vessel can do both without much modification. The autonomous one's controlled from our back end. This is Ram Marine Connect that we've developed in-house. And we have quite a few customers around the world. About 35 of these drones have been deployed. We have another 15 on order. This year so far has been one of our better years. In fact, we've done more sales this year in the first quarter than we did the entirety of last year, predominantly because of the pandemic, but we've bounced back pretty quickly, which is nice to see. We're exporting to Australia, Singapore, USA, UK, Europe, South Korea, and India at the moment, but we plan to expand those markets as we go. Autonomy and data are very important to us. The more units we have in the water collecting data, going to our backend, that raw data, we want to use that data in 3 to 5 years, depending on our volume, to be able to create predictive models. So not only will our customers be able to be aware of algae blooms happening or a swell pushing certain waste into certain areas that need collecting, but we'll be able to tell their drones to go and do that autonomously, sometimes without their knowledge. So we're trying to increase the efficiency of waste collection on water all the time, and it's certainly in our roadmap to increase that efficiency and make the models that are out there a lot better. Why now? I think we're aware that there's a societal shift where people are demanding that our waters become cleaner. There's a regulatory shift, certainly in the EU and the USA, where a lot of money is going towards not only cleaning up marine litter, but certainly on the biomass side, cleaning up that algae, cleaning up those harmful blooms. There's a lot of money going there. Commercially, robots, automated, cost less to employ. The OPEX is already less, and certainly the capital investment is a lot lower than what's out there at the moment. Our roadmap looks like this for the next 24 months. We have a larger version of our waste shark called the Mega Shark that's currently being deployed as a prototype in India and being tested actually right now. Our multi-drone docking station, which we had a grant via the H2020, grant, is currently going to be deployed in Rotterdam, in the harbour in April, so this end of next month, and that's to be able to house and dock 5 drones, expel the waste, recharge it, and then send it out again, really completing our autonomous loop. So these can be deployed from an office, from a laptop, and you can have drones out there all the time. The oil shark, reclaiming at the moment hydrocarbons from water, very small scale at the moment. We hope to expand that into a larger Mega Shark platform a little bit later on, but we think there's a very large market for that, and we'll be deploying that in Q4 of this year. Our financials at the moment, last year we sold 14 drones. We're on track to sell 99 this year. Our business model is direct sales, distribution, and subscription and leasing, which we're just employing now. And then there's a SaaS and data fee that we charge our clients annually to gain insight into the data that they're getting. The team to get it done, we have a very solid management team and a lot younger robotics, software, and mechanical team. All of our founders and our C-level guys are experienced entrepreneurs and company owners, and we've got a really good board and advisory board to back us up as well. We're looking for 2 million euros at this stage. I will be honest, predominantly half of that is going to be spent in marketing and sales growth. We've spent no money in revenue generating over the last few years. We would really like to ramp up our sales team, expand our market into North America, where we really see the bigger play happening for us at the moment. So a lot of that is going to go into marketing, into sales team and development, and then obviously fund our Shark roadmap over the next 24 months. I'm going to cut it very short there because there's a lot of information, but I'd be very happy to take your questions and hopefully answer them very easily.
Fantastic, Richard. Well done to you and the Ram Marine team. And I leave now the floor for the jury.
Yeah, hi, Richard. Thank you very much for your great presentation. Super interesting project you have there running. Couple of questions regarding what's the range of the vessel that you have today, and would you be able to also operate a fleet of vessels when you need to clean a larger area, and how do they collaborate, so to say, or do they bump into each other? Is there anti-collision going? And lastly, are there any weight limits that they can load on themselves. I guess that is why you introduce the Mega Shark project very soon. So if you could elaborate a little bit on these, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. So they have a range of about, they can travel for 12 kilometers. So they operate for 10 hours per session. So normally we say 6 out and 6 in. Obviously, you've got to get back in again. But they can travel for around 12 kilometers on the battery life that they have. For fleet management, that's something that we're doing now with the docking station. So that docking station will be able to manage fleets of 5 at a time, wirelessly recharge them. They can go in, they can dock, expel the waste that they've caught, and they go back out again, or sit and wait till the weather's correct or the tide's correct to go back out and be redeployed. The weight limitation, each one is capable of clearing around 500 kilograms a day. Now, whether whether you have 5 kilograms in a certain space immediately, and that takes an hour to clean, or whether it takes a day to get to that 500 kilograms is really sort of dependent on the debris field that you're dealing with. The reason we're bringing the bigger version in is that we find that there's already a market for those kind of vessels. There are vessels of that size, 4 meters by 2 meters, capable of clearing a ton or taking on board a ton at a time. Our play there is we can autonomize it, we can use it by remote control, or you can be on board. So we're trying to open up that market for our potential customers, that they can now have a zero emissions version of what they already have, but you can use it safely from onshore or be on board, or just let it do its thing. Regulatory requirements around that are slightly more onerous because it's a larger vessel. So those are things we have to be aware of and deal with. It's not necessarily that we're introducing a larger size because the smaller size doesn't work, but there are areas where you need to take a ton of stuff out at a time, and not just sort of take bites of it, using a number of them. So yeah, we see markets in both, and we kind of executed on both prototypes so far quite well.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Audra, you're mute.
Sorry. Yes, as you were mentioning, that obviously there's quite a few competitors. I mean, it's a good thing too, because it shows that there is definitely a market. But I know quite a few myself. That like CBIN in Australia, and you said you're coming into Australia. Kind of interested also how you really differentiate, with them and maybe 2 other main direct competitors. Because there's very many things that are very similar. So I'd like to have a little more detail on at least the 2 or 3, and then also if you're familiar with CBIN and how you position yourself compared to them. Yeah, so I think CBIN has always been a direct competitor, if you want. We see them as complementary. So we don't tend to sell ourselves apart. Most of our customers actually already own CBIN, so it's a complementary version, unit to those CBINs. I think where we like to see ourselves over and above CBIN, if it were a competition, is that we have mobility. So whereas a CBIN is a static device, and you might need 3 or 4 of them in a particular marina area to get to those waste chokeholds, you need one device for us to get right across the marina and clean it up. So I think our key play there is mobility. Although, as I say, a number of our customers have CBINs and waste sharks, so they do work well together. Where I think the CBIN works very well is that where the waste builds up in certain areas, and you can clean that waste, but you still have to go out and clean it and monitor it. Whereas we know that when it's full, it comes back to the docking station or to the home place where you launched it. Other competitors at the moment that are in the market, Jellyfishbot is a French company that is at the same stage as us, so they do have sales going. They are smaller than us, smaller in size, sorry, not by business. And we, they don't have full autonomy yet, whereas we do, so we see ourselves a little bit ahead there. Their pricing structure is similar to ours. So what you pay for our size, you pay for their size, and there's a significant difference in there. So we're never too sure how to deal with that. It makes our life a lot easier to sell because you get more for your money. But they do have their space within smaller marinas, so they do operate fairly well there. Another company that's just come out now, Clearbots, have just launched.
really sexy kind of renders and that kind of thing that they're doing. They're going very much for the NGO and leasing route. So we're watching them with a lot of interest. Again, I'm glad they're there because it kind of reaffirms our market. Right now, one of our problems is we can't point to someone else to go, well, it's like one of these or like one of those. If you're buying a car, you can BMW, Toyota, Audi, you can make a comparison. Right now, it's a little more difficult for us. So we're hoping to stay ahead of that pack, but also have that pack closely behind so we can sort of start saying, well, we're like that, but with the iPhone of, you know, and I think that's where we want to be. We want to be a reliable, credible product. They will be cheaper. We've no doubt about that, but we are using high-end products. It's got to be robust. It has to work. These are not cheap. So that's kind of our line where we're going at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Time for one last quick question from anyone.
I'll shoot one if you don't mind. Hi, Richard. Can you give us your view on how such a business will eventually scale up?
Yeah, I can give you the long sort of expensive, crazy opportunity, entrepreneur way. But you know, we started off in plastic. I think a lot of our competitors are focused on plastic. We actually see our bigger money in biomass. Plastic is fantastic to clean up. The money and the government backing is more in the biomass, the harmful algae blooms, and the monitoring of water. Our scale up is very much in that direction and into data. So the more products we have out there in the globe, the more data we can collect, the more predictive analysis we can create, not only for our own algorithms, but also for data that we can employ in academics or selling to cities, and start selling it on almost a per citizen value. I think that's where we would like to go. One of these drones is, 20 cents of a citizen's value. It's very cheap to deploy, but we can give you so much more information back. And I think that's where we're heading. Sargassum, hydrocarbons, oils, it's all on the same platform. But, at the end of the day, data to us is probably the bigger play long term.
Thank you.
Bravo, Richard. Congrats. Well done. And thanks for the excellent presentation. Let's launch that poll so we can get the interests from the investors in the room to have a meeting with RAN Marine. And in the meantime, I think we can ask Simex sign time, and I believe we have Georg with us to start getting ready with the presentation. Fantastic, Georg. You're in a very familiar living room this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. And whenever you're ready, Georg, you can upload the deck and walk us through it.
Yeah, okay, just a second. So I hope it works. Hello, everybody. My name is Georg. I'm the founder.
Georg, just before you start, can you launch it in full screen so we have a nice?
It doesn't work. Okay.
No, it does. Go ahead on the bottom and see if you can launch it full screen. Don't worry, we didn't even start your timer.
Okay.
Any chance to launch in the full screen presentation mode? You can just click on it from the PowerPoint directly. There it is. Let's see.
Does it work?
Weird, not yet. Would you mind relaunching the share screen again and maybe selecting the deck and the... Aha, hold on, don't move. We have it. Fantastic.
You have it?
We have it.
Okay,
Go.
Great. So, sorry for that.
No worries. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Try it again. My name is Georg. I'm founder and CEO of SignTime. SignTime is a limited company located in Vienna, Austria, and we created Simex, the sign language avatar. We were founded by the SME Instruments program from the European Union, and I'm sitting in the living room of our avatars. Okay. So what does the market need? There's strongly increasing international importance of accessible communication. Accessible communication means that people with different needs have access to text, to sound, to everything. Companies, authorities, and institutions worldwide need to communicate barrier-free. Legal regulations on the one hand and rising awareness on the other hand increase the demand of accessible information. The mass of new information produced daily can only be provided in sign language with technical solutions. In the EU and in the US, there are many rules on accessibility of communications, and they are becoming more and more. Our solution is a 3D animated avatar system for translation into sign language. Possible applications are TV and film, information on websites. This is the most product we sell on the market right now. Loudspeaker announcements on public transport systems, package leaflets for medicines, and so on and so on. And we have a lot of advantages compared to the traditional ways of making translations into sign language. So here you see how it looks like. Signex speaks fluently, has facial expressions, and can change its appearance. We can change the avatar very easy. We have an avatar editor on our website, and our customers can create their own avatar with just a few mouse clicks. What about the market? The market includes all content providers that need to make their content accessible. So in terms of TAM, SAM, SOM, the total addressable market is quite infinite because billions of text pages are produced every day new, and there are hundreds of TV, of broadcast channels and of radio channels and so on and so on. The serviceable market is beyond 100 million euro, and a realistic available market with our current resources is about 5 million euros, and it is constantly increasing. What about the competition? Our main competitors at the time are human interpreters producing translations in a film studio, which is a very old technology, of course. There are only 2 other sign language avatar systems in the world. In Europe, we are the only ones, at least the only ones who are successful on the market. Of course, if you Google, you will find more, but the solutions you will find there are in development and not yet on the market. Currently, we can translate texts into Austrian and German sign language, which are different. With the additional funding, we want to further improve our services. We plan to integrate more European sign languages and in the future, in the long run, the American sign language into our system. What is our business model? We provide translation as a service, so we don't sell our software or anything with the software. We sell the translation, mainly for internet purposes. And on the other hand, we also sell projects on a project base. So, for example, we translate loudspeaker announcements on public transport systems. We also have a tooltip solution for sign language, which is very highly scalable. So, for example, we can translate books or make books more accessible for the deaf people. Our market expansion strategy for this and further funding rounds is, in the short term, we want to expand into Europe to extend Signex for new languages and new sign languages. In the long run, we also want to expand into the US market and develop the American sign language for our system. In general, we want to build a new generation of avatar, and we want to stay the technology leader with our sign language avatars. Financials, we already have sales and customers increased since 2020. Honestly, we are not making profits yet, but we are making real sales in the market. We have already raised investments of about 900,000 euros in the past. They consist of subordinated loans and equity. We are now asking for 2 million euros, and what do we want to do with the money? We need it for software development, for new and customized products, to create basic vocabulary in different sign languages. We want to hire new staff, linguists, animators, and software developers. We want to produce demo content and set up international sales organization and for roll up and to roll up and to scale up. About our management team, Monica Heider and I are the founders. We have both 20 years of experience with sign language products, different products. Our CFO is a former CFO of large international companies, and our CTO is a former CTO of IBM Austria. In addition, we have a winning team of translators, linguists, animators, and software developers. It consists of deaf and hearing employees from 8 European countries. What is the conclusion? We have a game-changing technology with enormous economical and infinite market potential. It's highly scalable. We have a very high social impact, so we address the UN SDG 10.2. And as you know, sustainable investment becomes more interesting and more important for VC funds and other investors. We also have interesting exit options for our investors. Big media and tech companies will increasingly be interested in us. So our vision and mission, we want to be able to translate the entire digital content in the world into sign language in about 10 years. So this is thank you in sign language.
Fantastic, Georg. Thanks so much, and well done to Cymax and your team. I'd like to now give the floor to our jury.
Hello, George. Thank you very much for your great presentation. Well, there is an Oscar-winning film called Coda. It would be great if you could use your avatars to now dub it, so to say, into sign language. That would be the best marketing boost you could ever do. So is that possible if you could do that?
Yes, that would be possible, but it takes time. But yes, film is one of our targeted markets. We don't translate films right now, or just on a very small scale. I can show you maybe some movies. This is not a translation of a film, but this is children's content. But yes, we can make dubbing of films by moving that small avatars, putting them onto the film, and it translates the voices of the actors. That is possible. It's time consuming, of course, and it's expensive. But on a big scale of Hollywood, that wouldn't make really a big difference. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you very much. More serious question. You were saying that the sign language between Germany and Austria and the US is different, and somewhere on one slide I saw there's only one sign language. So can you, sorry for my ignorance here, can you elaborate on this for me, please, quickly?
Yeah, sure. No, sorry.
And the reason is, how do you scale? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we scale within different products in a country. So, for example, we start with internet translation of website information, web content, and then we move to other contents like film or announcements of public transport systems and so on. Translation of books is a very good product for the future for us. And we also can scale with other countries, to move to other countries. Sign languages are different in nearly every country. So every country has its own sign language, and you have to provide the sign language of the country. That makes it, of course, a bit more expensive to scale up, because there are quite high fixed costs to enter a new market, because you have to digitize the special sign language of this market first.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I've got a question about the market. You mentioned that it's an infinite market. At the same time, you mentioned the sum as of 5 million euros, something like that. So I wonder how you analyze your market, and which segments would be for you the first one to target, and how? Thank you.
Yes. We are limited in staff and limited in our capacity of production. So that's why I say we have the total addressable market for us, the serviceable market for us is about 5 million. I think you mean this one. The translation process is semi-automatically. That means we have our software, Cymex, and Cymex produces a rough suggestion of a translation into sign language. And then we have humans, translators, they overwork it and they polish the translation. And to scale up means also to hire new staff, new personnel to get into bigger dimensions. But we also have products which we can scale up much more easily. This is what we call the tooltip. We have a tooltip product. That means, for example, we describe complex terms for deaf people into sign language. And if we have this description once made, it is in a lexicographical way made. So we have a lexicon of expressions in sign language, and we can reuse it for other books, for example. So a very interesting market would be the book market. So just in Germany, every day in Germany, 80 books are published. So this is it's impossible. If we just can get about 10% of these books into our market, it would be 10 books a day or 8 books a day. And for each book, at least you get 300 euros for a tooltip. So it's a very interesting market. And the more it's possible for us to reduce the costs and the prices, the much easier it is to sell our product to the mass market. And what we target is the mass market. We don't want to be very specialized just for very special information, get the special information accessible. We want to change the whole information market, because deaf people are not able to read, as you maybe know. They are not able to access to the broadcast or the audio information. They are cut off all of this information. And accessibility is one of the main targets of the European Union, but also of the American Society and of UN and so on. So we think that there's a very big market on accessibility if you're able to support the mass market, not just very specialized small markets.
We have time for one last question from our jury.
Yeah, just actually I had a few questions, but let me shoot one. I mean, in the film industry, I mean, the films can be subtitles. Why would someone prefer to go with sign language versus subtitles, for example?
Yeah, thanks for that question. That is because deaf people, because of their deafness, they have very bad access to written language. They don't understand written language. We talk about 70 to 80% of deaf people are functional illiterate, so they don't understand sentences. That is because the written language is an abstract form of the spoken, and the spoken language consists of vocals. And if you don't have access to the vocals and the spoken language, then it's very abstract to think with characters and words. And deaf people, they also don't think in our language. They think in pictures, they think in signs, they think in movements, but they don't think in words and in texts. So it's very hard for them to pick up a text language. It's much harder for them to learn a text language than for us to learn the sign language. That is the reason why sign language is needed for them. And that is also the reason why a lot of laws go into sign language, and sign language has to be provided, especially in the European countries and in the United States. So the Americans with disability laws in America are very strong, and they move very strong into the private sector compared to the European market. So that means US is always a very interesting market for us.
Thanks a lot. I learned a few things, so thanks for that.
George, thanks so much also for putting things really into context for us and for the investor audience. Wanted to thank you and congratulate you and Cymex what you're doing. And I think we can launch also our poll now. So anyone interested in getting in touch can connect with you and your team. In the meantime, we can get ready for our final presentation for today. And we have Yangi already with their slides up and ready to roll. So I'd like to ask Johan to take us away whenever you're ready.
Perfect, thank you. So hello all, my name is Johan. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Yangi. So we're located in Sweden, and Sweden is, as you know, quite full of trees. So what we're out on a mission to is to replace a lot of the plastic packaging with tree-based packaging instead. You saw the picture earlier with the beautiful drone that could pick this up, but of course the best thing is we cannot even put a lot of waste into the waters. And looking at global research, that without any action, actually twice as much virgin plastic will be created, and 4 times the much plastic waste will end up in the oceans than we have today. So with that, for our point, it's clear that we need to rethink how we approach packaging. And from our side, from the Yangi side, we don't believe that there is one single solution that will take it all. I mean, there will be better and less plastic uses with bioplastic and those kind of things. But there is also a huge market for substitutes, like using paper packaging, which Yangi is then part of. When it comes to the packaging, then it's a huge, huge market. And what we are focusing on is what is called the rigid packaging, and it can be, as you can see on the top there, for cosmetics and beauty, where you can have it as refill packaging or primary packaging. You can see down there below, which is more a high volume segment for takeaway foods or the secondary food market. And then also on the bottom left, you see protective packaging, which is called secondary packaging for mobile phone packagings or instances like that. Our solution then is actually something quite unique. So there is not a solution today to produce paper packaging without using water. And with our solution, we are able to do that without using any processed water, which has lots of benefits from the side. And the base on what we are doing is really to have a scalable machine platform. So it's really important to have a single simple use machine, which the people that use plastic machineries today can use in a simple way. And to do that, we want to keep it together as a service model, utilizing the material recipes to ensure that you have the right material in. And then, of course, having the design and the concept. Because what we know is that it's not possible to replace plastic fully one by one, but you need to look at the shapeability, you need to look at the different type of barrier properties and things like that. The benefit we have then is that there's not that much competition out there in terms of having paper packaging. So that's also why we see that a model where we can keep it together and having it as a service model is something that the market is needed. Looking at the competitive landscape, then our main aim is, of course, to replace the plastic. And the obvious advantage that we have over plastic is the lower CO2 emissions. But also, if you look on the price point of view, so plastic today, it says one there, but looking at the rising oil prices and taxation, it might well be into a 6 there. The other alternative that is on the market today, it's a technology that has been around for 120 years. It's typically what you produce egg cartons or those kind of things from. It's a wet process, and with that said, it's quite costly, and it's also consuming a lot more energy. And actually, when you look at an LCA, it's even worse than plastic in form of environmental footprint. The market size is enormous, but what we're focusing here is then a small size of the market with segments which we can see that we can achieve today with our Horizon 1 products. We are now investigating into the Horizon 2 and Horizon 3, and what that means is mainly to increase the shapeability of our technology, but also to increase the barrier properties. So for instance, today, a food tray with a few days shelf life is okay for us. If we go beyond that, we need to use a laminate or something on that on top of it. But we are working together with chemical companies to solve that and to get to a much bigger size in the future. The team and myself, we have been on this journey for a while. So the technology is actually not that new. There has been, even before 2014, we bought an old research project back from 2000. But we have done a lot of research since then. And over the years, both worked on making more of the chemistry inside, but also working a lot on the machine technology. And the latest years then, with the increase, especially from the brands, looking at alternatives to plastic, we have seen a lot of brands and converters coming to us, where we now run a lot of different type of proof of concepts. We qualify their portfolios for our technology and basically make them ready for machine orders, which we will be able to take later this year. We will also be able to set up a pioneer production with a machine that we currently are building and that will be ready after summer. The team then is a very experienced team. So Anna, who is the founder from the beginning, she has been working in the forest industry for over 20 years, leading different innovation products and been working with different type of fiber products since basically 2010. We have myself with a bit different background, which actually got fed up with the automotive industry and want to work with something more sustainable, and be moving into the packaging industry full speed ahead since then. We have Ulf, who has experience from the hygiene industry, which is a very similar process, building machines on a large scale. And then some people like Maria, who are really skilled in materials and chemistry down to the nano level. Where we currently are, so up until now, we're actually self-financed, and we have gotten some soft funding, which so far has enabled us to validate our technology. So we've already built 2 machines, and as I said, we are now building our generation 3 machine, which also will mean that we will have blueprints for a scalable machine platform. We have the customer traction, as we said, with several ongoing projects and pre-orders for the first machine. We have worked on securing our IP and have a freedom to operate and reach quite a lot of the technology readiness level on the machine side. We're now looking for investment and to scale the company and to scale the facilities. So a lot of the investment will go into develop the machine technology even further. And when we say that, it's a lot regarding as well scaling down the machine technology that is available into our size. We see that the sales and the customer projects, it's something that we really need to expand. We currently actually have more demands for proof of concepts or interest in the technology than we can imagine or can handle. And then, of course, it's really to scale the R&D team and doing that. So thank you for your time. And I guess I was quite fast here, so open for additional questions.
Very good, Johan, and congrats to you and your team at Yangi. Jury members, we have time for a couple of questions. Feel free to
Yeah, thank you very much, Johan. If I may start, very interesting. Renewable packaging, of course, is a big concern and of high interest. The question I have is, what about the molds you need for creating a package? I understand no process water and cellulose is the way to go with the raw materials, but how many time do you need to create a mold, and how complex is that, and how sturdy does that have to be, and how much energy is needed for that?
So in terms of the molds, actually, it's quite similar to sheet metal pressing. So basically what we use is a I would say, rather simple mold with a female and a male, which of course can be several cavities depending on how big the press is, basically. But the molds as such are super sturdy, of hardened steel, and should handle several years of usage normally.
Okay, but you still need steel molds, and you cannot, you know, work any innovative way on that front, because
so in the pressing, it's quite high pressure and it's heat as well. So with that, it means that we need to use some kind of material. So we're looking into some more. I mean, today we use aluminium because it's easier to manufacture it, but for some kind of metal is needed.
Yeah, it doesn't have the sturdiness the aluminium molds.
No.
Yeah, no, fully understood. Thank you very much for answering that question, John.
Yes, Audrey here. You had mentioned particularly with your usage of funds that you need to expand on the sales and customer projects. I see that you have a lot of good engineers, you know, on your team. But who do you have for the sales and communication, and what are you planning? Because I see you have quite a management gap in that area.
So actually today we are working together with a future of packaging lab or a brand agency where we do the common go-to-market. So it's a Swedish company called Grow. So we have some help on that, on the go-to-market. And then quite quickly, actually, what we see is that quite quickly we go into more technical details. So actually the team that we're expanding with is, of course, more, I would put it, machine sales at a later stage. But right now, what we're focusing is actually more engineers that are able to take on the customer project. So working with the applications, also actually educating our customers or the brands in this technology, because they come in often with a knowledge about plastic, and it's a journey for them to understand that by working with paper, you need to do different design, or you need to rethink the barrier property. So that's often where we start, and it often gets quite quickly into the technical sides.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. I don't really have any questions, but there's great presentations. Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, me neither. So maybe if you have some time, can you get back to your forecast as your financials? How do you see the next 5 years?
Yeah, I didn't show this slide, but I can show it now. So basically what we see is that we need additional funding for the coming 3 years, more or less, and that's really to scale the organization and to start to sell machines. And when we look at the revenues, they will kick off during next year when we start to sell the first machines, and then increase, because what we see is that we will want to offer these machines as a service on a leasing model. And of course, then we have a scalable revenue model when we go up in 2026, where we have sold more machines and also have commissioning on the material and our output. So this is basically where we are today, moving from around 11 then also to up to 45 persons, something like that. But we see that this is then quite still, I would say, quite scalable model once we have the organization up and running.
Thanks.
We have time for one last quick question, or maybe a few more comments from Johan. Let's see if anyone from the jury would like to. And if not, Johan, would you like to maybe use these last 30 seconds to give a shout out to the investors in the room as to why you and why you're so different and special?
Yes, I can do that. No, I think actually what we have here is really a golden egg. It's a great technology that can replace a lot of the plastic out there. And what we need now is actually someone that wants to join us on this journey and get into the whole business of packaging.
Fabulous. Congrats to Yangi. Well done, Johan, and to your team. And let's launch that poll so that the audience can get in touch with you. And while the poll is live, I'd like to remind everyone that in just a moment from now, we'll be electing the winning startup and team that has presented today at this event, co-hosted by EBAN and the Horizon Results platform. And of course, everyone is a winner, but we need your help in the audience this evening to send one company to the EBAN Congress in Cork, Ireland, this 18th and 19th of May. And by the way, if you're an investor and would like to meet not just the company that is winning today, but also many, many more that are handpicked from our network and presenting in Cork, well, consider joining us this spring in lovely Cork at the EBAN Congress. I see the team here has posted the website in the chat. Remember that as EBAN members, you also get a good deal to come to the event. So don't hesitate to start making plans to be in Ireland with us. I think worthwhile to launch now the voting form to elect the winner. Will it be PeptiChip, the startup that enables personalized immunotherapies to treat cancer? Will it be Nova Innovation, who is pioneering tidal energy and producing it with their own design turbines? Will it be Kitro that's helping us optimize food waste with their AI-powered solution? Is it Rand Marine, who's cleaning up our waterways with their Roomba on water? Is it Signtime, who's helping us make everything comprehensible for those that are not able to listen and to hear? Or last but not least, Yangi, who is helping us manufacture replacements for plastic. So the poll is now live. Please do vote. Only the audience can vote. So this is your chance to send a team of really bright and promising entrepreneurs to meet in person with investors. Give it a thought there from the selection we had today, who you would like to recognize as our winner. Of course, all of the companies that presented today, as you can tell, are doing amazing work. And I think they're all winners in their own way for how they're advancing on solving some of these fundamental challenges that we as a society and as humanity are collectively facing. As you can also tell, these are all companies that have a really strong tech component, a really strong science-driven component to them. This is our excellency as Europe, and we're really proud of those entrepreneurs and equally proud for the support they've received from the European Commission in advancing their research and their development, so we can now invest in these amazing entrepreneurs and help them scale, help them go to market, and help them ultimately be successful and success stories for our continent. So I believe I'm receiving some information about the poll results. There's maybe a virtual drum roll happening soon. I hope we can quickly inform the audience and the entrepreneurs who our winner is. So in just about a second, we'll be knowing it. And please do share the results from the poll so we can announce who is making it to Cork. And it looks like a big round of applause. Virtually speaking, we'll be seeing John in Cork. Well done to Nova Innovation. They are producing energy with the tide, and they're doing it in a really amazing way already. And of course, we hope to see also your installations happening in Ireland. And we'll see you soon, John, in Cork, in the EBAN Congress. So well done, and a big round of applause. And please use the emojis and so on to share your appreciation for Nova Innovation's award and winning today's session, today's pitching competition. So well done, John. We'll be in touch with you to figure out how to get you and Nova Innovation on stage in Cork. And I'd like to just briefly wrap up and thank again all of the companies, all the entrepreneurs that have presented to us this afternoon. and really congratulate them for all the amazing work they're doing together with their teams. And I'd also like to, of course, thank our expert jury members, Audra, Peter, Christoph, Ian, for guiding us in the Q&A breaks this afternoon and for asking those questions that are also helping a lot our audience appreciate the value of these companies that have presented. Thank you in the audience for making it. And of course, if you are an investor and want to get in touch with the startups, as you can tell, there's a lot of interest from everyone to invest in these companies, and hopefully you are also going to be part of those funding rounds that are coming up and that are currently being raised. And final thank you, of course, goes to the HRP, the Horizon Results Platform, that together with us and VO has brought to you this afternoon this selection of great entrepreneurs. If you are an investor, please do take a look at the HRP platform for deal flow. You'd be surprised at how many amazing companies that have received grants from the EU you will be able to find there. Today was just a selection. It was honestly super tough even to make these 6 companies selected out of the list of many applicants we had. And I want to thank again HRP for handpicking with us the entrepreneurs that have presented. And finally, thanks to the teams and everyone that has really put in a ton of effort to make today's session, what it was. So thank you all. I want to also wish you a lovely evening, and I hope to see you soon in person in Ireland. So big thanks to everyone for tuning out. Thank you all.
Everyone, well done.